3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
When you found Iraq after you showed us?
No.
Well, I'm hoping you put together the connection that I showed you to make sure you knew you were right. Let's count again. Before I showed you where it was, you knew where Iraq was. I feel like Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny. I feel like Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny.
What's a youth?
What's a youth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 13, 14.
I think that's a lie.
I got 14.
Why didn't no one step out and push the button?
Are you sabotaging my statistics in this classroom?
Absolutely.
I am so pissed off.
Sure, I have no freaking clue.
Friends, 14 could find it, which means statistically the other, 22? What should we call that? What should we call that?
Keeping it real.
We'll call this one. P hat is 14 out of 36. Q hat is therefore the other 22 out of 36. 14 and 36 is 7/18. I can't get any kind of precision with that. 7/18 is just below a half. 7/18 appears to be about 39%. 39% could find it, which means about 61% couldn't. Now, there was a claim put forth by Grando Reporter Gem that said 19 point, well actually it said the blue area on that map couldn't find Iraq. Now I did some geometry to figure out what that percentage was. It's about 19.7%. It's actually a fun geometry problem to figure out a couple stars out of that rectangle. It's super fun. Anyway, 19.7%. So what should we test? Well, obviously I want to test you guys and your percentage of being able to find Iraq, right? I want to find P, that I'm testing right now, is the percentage of you guys, your class. We'll do that. I can't do the percentage of you, we either did or didn't. So the percentage of your class that could find Iraq or not? What do I go with found Iraq?
Find.
Find it. Find Iraq. Okay. Should we do that? Because the claim was 19.7 couldn't find it. Maybe we should test those in here that couldn't find it. Does that make sense? You see what I'm getting at here? Maybe let's present your class that couldn't find Iraq. Because that's the number they gave us. And I mean, the assumption, I'm assuming, is if 19.7 couldn't, then the other 80% could, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. What's the best way to do this, do you think?
Well, this way you'd be trying to prove
The-
the null.
Right, but I could set up the null either way, with the 19.7 or the other one.
Because it doesn't state that.
It
none of the
doesn't,
people-
right.
The assumption is that at the end of all the questions, they said, and do you know where Iraq is?
Right, and the 19.7 said no,
No.
basically. Yeah, let's leave it that way. This is that you're the same. This is that you're the same as whoever they sampled for that particular survey, for that Grando Reporter Gem survey. So you're the same. Here's our results from our sample data. Here's the results from our sample data. What should we test? What should we test? Now remember, these are the folks. Actually, I've got this backwards now, don't I? This should actually be Q hat, shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be the other way around? If we're testing who couldn't find Iraq, that was a 22 out of 36. So 61% was actually our P hat. If we set up P this way, if P hat agrees with P. Go ahead, Mary.
So would the X then be 22 as opposed to 42?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, very, very good. X should be 22. Because success, if we're agreeing with the 19.7, should be can't find Iraq. Good. I feel better now. Although we get the same results if we flopped it around, because what kind of a random variable is this? Starts with a B. That's the binomial. Either could or couldn't find it. I'm assuming there are two options. Okay? So what do you think we should test, friends? Is there significant evidence that
Our class is different than.
that you want to go with different? I love different. Is there significant evidence to show that you guys have a different rate of finding Iraq than the general population? I love it. As a statistician, I always go two-tailed first and then see if I see something else in the two that I can get it down to one. But more on that as the class unfolds. I love this idea. Let's go with two tails first. So let me rephrase this. It appears or does not appear that this class finds Iraq at a different rate than, I'll call general population to get with you guys, than the general population. Let's see if we can support that. Or not support it. So either support that it's different than the general population or can't support it. Yes, Ashley's already laughing because she sees where this is going. She sees where this is going. This is one of those ones that is so glaringly, well actually, you know what? Let me draw a curve first. Okay. Here's general population, 0. But 0 really doesn't mean 0. It means 19.7%, right? Now we know where our percentage fell. It fell at 61%, which is clearly to the right of 19.7. The question is it right? Is it outside the margins of error of a two-tailed test? So, and again, the z-scores are roughly at 2 and -2. Is it okay that I keep putting those up there, the 2 and -2? That's the z-scores, not the percentage scores. There are percentages here and here, which the hypothesis test doesn't actually tell us, although we could go with an interval this time, couldn't we? We could go with an interval this time, and we'll go back to that, Ashley.
It's okay.
Put the negative on the other side.
Yes, I should do that, perhaps.
That would help.
I was just seeing if you guys paid attention. Nice job, Ashley. Let's do it. You look pained when you say, Sean, negative. Okay, let's do it, friends. We're going to run this both ways. Because it's two-tailed, we're going to do confidence intervals second. We'll do the hypothesis test first because that's the newer skill. All right, here we go. One prop z-test. 0.197. 19.7%. 22 out of 36. Now, two-tailed. I love this one because I know that 66% is huge. But with a margin of error, it's probably pretty wide, I would imagine. What the hell? Let's just stop talking and start doing. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Are we in the tank of the general population?
No.
Not even close. How far away are we?
Like 4 fish tanks.
Different ocean.
6 1/4. 6 1/4 standard deviations. We are friends. We're like here. Us.
We're different.
We're there.
You drew on the wall.
Yeah, we're there. We're over there. We're in our own tank. We're in our own tank. Even with a margin of error allotted for, we're in our own tank, right? So, what do we think? Do we have a different rate of inability to find Iraq? We do. We do have a differing. In other words, we completely think it appears this class finds Iraq at a different rate. As a matter of fact, we are so far to the right, we could rerun this test with one tail, couldn't we? And totally support that. We're finding Iraq less than the general population, according to our results, our extraordinarily biased few results. You guys were getting pissed for a while there. Now, I want to reiterate this. Again, now this example is so extreme, Jared, it doesn't really help your question from before. The only time your question from before shows a difference in a one-tailed versus two-tailed test is when the results are so close to 5%. Look at this p-value. Is it really 0? No, it rounds to 4 decimal places of 0. It's out the tail. There is area out there. It's just so little that it's essentially 0. And it's definitely less than 5%. Now watch this. Here's, Paris, you have a question?
I was just gonna say,
Go ahead.
Could we say that it appears that their information is wrong?
Well, we could say that except we have no idea how they collected their information.
Okay.
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the survey instrument used.
Right.
I mean, it probably is better than whatever the hell I just did.
No, that's what I was gonna say, because I don't believe 19%.
You don't have to believe it. That's why I say back check and go find their data, find their survey methodology. I love it. I've never run this in a class and been able to show that we are less than 19.7%. And that surprises me, because in 2003 and 2004, when the war was going on, nobody knew where Iraq was before that. But it's been 10 years. We've been seeing it in the news for 10 years. You would think that it would decrease by now. More people would be able to find it. So anyway, plus I have wickedly biased samples too. Let's run the interval for our data, okay? Interval for our data. One prop z int down here. There it is. Data's already there, 22 out of 36. Check out the margin of error on this bad boy. Look at the margin of error on this thing. This is why, even though I kind of had a gut feeling I knew where our test statistic was going to land, because of the width of the margin of error, why is it so wide? 36 people. Now, some of you are going to say, wait a minute. Central limit theorem says you only need 30. Bare minimum. You have to accept a wicked margin of error on 30. The more you have, the more it shrinks. What is the margin of error on that thing? Like 15%? It's huge. It's like 30 wide, right? Ish. Cut it in half. Right, 32 wide, so it's 16%, plus or minus 16. But, even allowing for a 16% margin of error, what number's not in there? 19.7. Where's 19.7? It's over here. Which means this equates beautifully. This equates beautifully to this, doesn't it? Look. Here's us. There, if you will. So I can do this. See this, this might be a totally cheeseball visual, but there's us, essentially. There's our interval. Michael, there's your curve. Imagine a bell. Imagine a bell where 0.45 and 0.77 are the two ends of that bell's middle standard deviation. We're way over it. Say that again.
We're average.
You're average on that bell.
Exactly.
You're average on that bell.
We're average.
But your average is not the average of the population, which shows that there's a difference. Could we be wrong?
Yeah.
Not about where Iraq is. Obviously we are. But could we be wrong in our test? Yes. What kind of error? I didn't fill this in. I'm sorry. Your Z's about 6 standard deviations-ish, right? P-value is essentially 0. We said it appears that we found a significant difference, right? So what type, Richard? Definitely a type 1 because this is what kind of a test? It's a potential false positive. What's the chance? 5%. Boom. I never know how this is going to turn out, although anecdotally it always turns out that way. Anecdotally, I mean, it always seems to fall. It's just interesting to me. It's very interesting to me. I don't know. It's easy to say that, right? I've often seen, I read a book years ago called 500 Things Every American Should Know. And I remember looking through it and going, wow, I know like 1 out of every 50 of these things. And then I was like, who's the jackass that wrote this book? Like, and who is he to think that I need to know these things? So I don't work the Jeopardy champ, right? So does that mean I have to know 500 points of trivia? So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Whenever I take a geography quiz, I feel like an idiot. Like I can find like Madagascar or Australia. Like sweet. Like where's Burma? I don't know. Does it still exists? You know, that's the questions I ask. Where's the USSR? And I start showing my age. Because things have changed so much since I was young and memorized the globe in high school. So I'm not sure if I go that far, Ash. But it is interesting, nonetheless. Cool? All right. I moved your quiz